If I had known that trying to change my skin would change my life forever, I would have never bought that cream.
At 24 years
You
old,
look beautiful,
Zainab was known as one of the
Thank you,
most
Mother. I will
hardworking
make us
young
proud
women
today.
in her
I know
neighborhood.
you will, my daughter.
She lived with her widowed mother in a modest home, helping with the family's daily needs while saving every penny she earned from her tailoring job. Although people often complimented her kindness and natural beauty, Zainab never believed them. Every evening after work, she would spend hours scrolling through social media, admiring women with flawless fair complexions, expensive lifestyles, and thousands of admirers. As the days passed, she slowly convinced herself that her dark skin was the only reason she wasn't living the life she dreamed of. The more she compared herself to others, the more she became dissatisfied with the woman she saw in the mirror. Her mother noticed the
My
change
daughter,
long
listen to
before
me.
anyone
This pain
else
you are
did.
feeling now will not
Almost
last forever.
every day,
God will
she
definitely
reminded
grant you
Zainab
the
that
strength
true
to bear
beauty
it.
came from
You
character,
must wipe your tears and be
confidence,
strong.
and self-respect, not complexion. She warned her not to allow social media to define her worth or pressure her into changing herself. But Zainab believed her mother's advice belonged to another generation and could never understand the modern world. She became increasingly obsessed with finding a way to lighten her skin, believing that once she became fair, doors of happiness, love, and success would finally open. Unknown to her, that desire was quietly leading her toward a decision that would change her life forever. One afternoon, while scrolling through Instagram, Zainab came across a skincare vendor whose page was filled with dramatic before and after photos and glowing testimonials from satisfied customers. The seller confidently described her products as natural, organic, and completely safe, promising a brighter complexion within weeks without any side effects. Captivated by the convincing advertisements and countless positive comments, Zainab ignored every doubt in her mind, and she spent almost all the money she had carefully saved over several months and eagerly placed her order, believing she was investing in a brighter future rather than risking her health. Within the first few weeks, everything appeared exactly as the seller had promised. Her skin gradually became lighter, and people around her immediately noticed the difference. Friends complimented her glowing appearance. Strangers
Your skin is
admired her
glowing, my
complexion.
dear.
And for
Thank
the
you
first
so
time
much,
in
Ma.
years,
Enjoy your
Zainab
day.
felt confident enough to smile without hesitation. Every compliment strengthened her belief that she had finally made the right decision. Excited by the transformation, she faithfully continued using the cream every single day, unaware that beneath the surface, her skin was already beginning to suffer from damage that had not yet revealed itself. Several weeks later, Zainab noticed a faint stretch mark near her thigh while getting dressed for work. At first, she dismissed it as something insignificant, convincing herself it would disappear within a few days. However, as the weeks passed, more stretch marks appeared across different parts of her body, becoming darker and more noticeable with each passing day. Fear slowly replaced excitement as she realized something was terribly wrong. Desperate for answers, she contacted the skincare vendor, who calmly assured her that the marks were only temporary reactions and recommended another expensive cream that would supposedly repair the damage completely. Trusting the seller once again, Zainab borrowed money from a close friend and immediately purchased the new product. Instead of improving her condition, the second cream made everything worse. The stretch marks spread rapidly across her thighs, stomach, waist, and arms, leaving her skin sore and badly scarred. Each morning she woke hoping for improvement, only to discover new marks staring back at her in the mirror. When she desperately tried contacting the vendor again, her messages were unanswered, her calls were ignored, and before long, the Instagram page had disappeared completely. It was then that Zainab realized she had been deceived, but by then, the damage had already been done. Ashamed of her appearance, Zainab gradually withdrew from the world around her. She stopped attending social gatherings, avoided wearing clothes she once loved, and became uncomfortable whenever anyone looked at her. The confidence she had briefly enjoyed disappeared completely, replaced by embarrassment and endless self-blame. She spent the little money she had left visiting different skincare shops and searching for miracle treatments, but nothing restored the skin she had once taken for granted. Every failed attempt only reminded her of the warning she had ignored from the very beginning. Throughout those difficult months, her mother remained by her side with patience and unconditional love. Rather than criticizing her, she comforted her daughter,
Everything will be all
reminding her
right, my
that
child.
mistakes never define a person's future if they are willing to learn from them. One evening, overwhelmed with emotion, Zainab broke down in tears and admitted how deeply she regretted ignoring every word her mother had spoken. She realized that she had spent months chasing society's approval while neglecting the beauty she had naturally been given. For the first time since her ordeal began, she understood that true beauty had never been about skin color at all. As time passed, Zainab slowly began rebuilding her confidence. Although the stretch marks remained as permanent reminders of her painful experience, she refused to let them control the rest of her life. She accepted that healing would take time, not only for her skin, but also for her heart. Instead of hiding her story, she began sharing it with other young women in her community, encouraging them to appreciate themselves and to think carefully before trusting products promoted online without proper medical guidance. Her painful experience became a lesson that protected others from making the same mistake. Looking back, Zainab no longer wished she had lighter skin. What she wished was that she had listened to the people who truly loved her instead of strangers who only wanted her money. She finally understood that confidence cannot be found inside a jar of cream, and that comparing yourself to others often steals the peace you already have. Though her scars never completely disappeared, they became symbols of wisdom rather than shame. From that day forward, whenever she stood before a mirror, she no longer searched for someone different. She smiled at the woman looking back, grateful that she had finally learned the value of loving herself exactly as she was.